You know, for years, the golden rule of the tech sector was pretty much set in stone. If you wanted the absolute smartest artificial intelligence on the planet, well, you were going to pay top-tier premium Silicon Valley prices for it. We're talking OpenAI, Google, Anthropic. The names sitting comfortably at the very top of the leaderboard were, naturally, the most expensive tickets in the entire industry. That was the old reality. But man, that reality, it has completely flipped. Because in the summer of 2026, a wave of Chinese AI labs pulled off something that literally nobody in the Valley saw coming. They didn't just catch up, no, they matched frontier-level AI performance, and they did it at an absolute fraction of the cost. Basically, that Silicon Valley monopoly on hyper-expensive, top-tier intelligence was shattered almost overnight. So, in this explainer, we're going to look at how this great AI price war actually started, and why this massive shift is honestly way more important than whatever the next big model release happens to be. Section 1. The extreme pricing gap. Okay, let's step away from the industry hype for a second and look at the cold, hard numbers. One widely discussed new model is currently pricing itself at less than a single dollar per million tokens. Yes, you heard that correctly, less than $1. Just to put that into perspective for us, million token benchmarks are how this industry measures massive volumes of data processing. Pushing that cost under $1, that is an economic and psychological barrier most folks thought we wouldn't even touch for years. Welcome to the race to the bottom. When we say less than $1, we really need to emphasize what that actually does to the market. That is a full order of magnitude cheaper than premium Western models. Those guys are routinely charging 10 times that amount for literally the exact same volume of processing. We are talking about an astronomical, industry-shaking discount here. When you compare the current landscape, the premium Western models are towering all the way up top with a 10x multiplier. Meanwhile, these new Chinese models are offering their AI services at an average of roughly a third, and sometimes even a tenth of what leading Western labs charge for comparable coding and reasoning tasks. And why does this actually matter to you? Well, if you're a startup running thousands of API queries every single day, this isn't just some nice cosmetic discount. This is literally the difference between having a sustainable business model and burning through your entire cash runway in just 6 months. Section 2. How they do it. So you might be wondering, how exactly are Chinese labs undercutting absolutely everyone else this aggressively? I mean, they aren't using magic, right? Well, there are 3 core mechanics going on behind the curtain. First up, compute economics. And there is a deep irony here. Chinese firms have actually been forced to optimize harder specifically because of export restrictions on the most advanced chips. They've been pushed into extreme efficiency, building smaller models that perform near frontier levels but are trained and run far, far more cheaply. Second, you have immense state and private capital pouring in to win the global infrastructure race. They are prioritizing massive market share over temporary benchmarks. And third, well, this one is a tactic that threatens the very foundation of Western AI. Open weight releases. This essentially means releasing AI models in a way where developers can just download them and run them locally or on their own cloud without paying a single per-token API fee to the creator. 0. This is the truly uncomfortable part for Western labs. Giving the tech away like this isn't just a different marketing strategy. It is a direct, existential threat to the subscription models that companies like OpenAI and Anthropic are built entirely upon. Because this race to the bottom completely ignores subscriptions. By releasing open weights, these labs fundamentally undercut the entire API pricing model that has governed the AI industry for the last few years. Think about it. You simply cannot compete on a monthly subscription price when your competitor's price tag is functionally $0. But wait a second. Is cheaper actually better? Let's take a sharp pause here. It is incredibly easy to get swept up in the pure excitement of a 90% cost savings, right? But any serious business operation weighing this massive financial trade-off really needs to wake up to the reality check. Cheaper does not automatically mean better across the board. Section 3. The hidden risks. Let's take a straight-faced look at the compliance nightmares that can sometimes come firmly attached to these steep discounts. Here is the exact trade-off businesses must make every single day now. On one side, you have AI that is cheap, capable, but riskier. On the other side, you have AI that is expensive, capable, and predictable. The crucial point here is that the choice isn't good AI versus bad AI. It is entirely about your organization's specific tolerance for risk versus your actual operational budget constraints. Breaking down those hidden risks, we start with content restrictions. These models are often trained with hard-coded refusals on politically sensitive topics, which, yeah, that might surface unexpectedly in global business contexts depending on your use case. Second, and this is a massive one, data jurisdiction. Unless it's routed through an intermediary, API calls often pass straight through Chinese jurisdiction servers. If you handle sensitive user data, that right there is going to cause a grinding immediate halt to any conversation with your legal team. And third, reliability quirks. Reports show they can be less consistent with structured outputs, like JSON formatting, which is a total headache if you are trying to build complex, automated pipelines instead of just a simple conversational chatbot.
Section 4. The Infrastructure War. Now let's pivot to the macroeconomic reality of what this means moving forward. For years, the story of the old era was incredibly simple. Whoever builds the absolute smartest model wins the market. But look at the new era. Pure price is becoming a genuine, heavy-hitting competitive weapon. Whoever can deliver good enough intelligence at the absolute lowest cost wins the infrastructure war. Let's be real. Most companies out there do not need the single smartest, most godlike model in the world for their everyday tasks. They just need something reliable, fast, and cheap enough to actually run at commercial scale. And Western players are being actively forced to respond to this intense pressure. We are now seeing way more competitive pricing across the board from US players. They're making a hard pivot toward highly efficient, smaller models and significantly faster release cycles. Why? Because standing still on price is simply no longer an option in this kind of cutthroat environment. Which really brings us to this incredibly telling quote from the research. Today's expensive frontier model becomes tomorrow's commodity price. Intelligence is rapidly becoming a cheap utility, much like electricity or cloud storage. The real winners in this AI race won't just be the isolated labs hoarding the absolute smartest models. No, it's going to be the ones who figure out how to make intelligence so cheap and so incredibly commodified that absolutely everyone can afford to build with it.
So what should you take away from all this? The AI arms race isn't just about who is the smartest anymore. It is about who is affordable enough to actually win the global infrastructure game. And as that floor on pricing just continues to plummet, it leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question to reconsider regarding your own organizational strategies. In a world where raw artificial intelligence costs almost nothing, what exactly becomes the new premium? Thanks for exploring this explainer with me today.